Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Lifetime Legacy Lawyer Podcast. I'm your co-host, Thomas Vick, joined by our co-host, Seth Wilson. Seth, how's it going today?
Great. Really excited about today's topic. We kind of talked last time about what does it take to actually get the office open and how do you get started. And the next step after that, I suppose, is how do we get the phone to ring? If that's still the thing, it's more, hey, how do we get clients to communicate with us? And so we thought it might be a good thing to talk about it, kind of those next steps to take after you've opened up the practice to start that networking to build the client base.
Yeah, I think that is a natural next step. What happens after you've, kind of opened the door and you're in the office and you got your phone set up, you got your computer there, and then what do you do now? Do you have a single client to work for? And if you don't, then what do you do to get that first client? How do you get the phone to start ringing? And I think that the most natural step is to make sure that people know that you are an attorney and that you have opened up your own law practice. Just communicate that with the people that already know you, friends and family. Let them know that you have hung your own shingle. It's one of the you got to keep in mind what happened when you became an attorney and you were sworn in for the first time. People will see you, they say, congratulations, you passed the bar. I've got a legal question for you. There's just some kind of aura that sets upon you as an attorney where just it's like a magnet. People will come to you and will start asking you legal questions as long as they know that you're an attorney. And the more that you introduce yourself as an attorney, the more people are going to start asking you questions. Not that you're soliciting yourself as being able to help them with their legal services, but they just naturally have questions that come up because we live in this world and we have legal issues that come up from time to time. So I think that's where I would start, is make sure that people know that you are an attorney.
Yeah, it's a great point because as you get started, you're not going to have all the confidence that you have answers to all of those questions that may come up. But the idea is important that people think of you when they have a legal question. And if you can be a resource to them and provide a general educational kind of answer of, in general, this is what we've learned, or here's what I've studied about whatever the topic or the question is. And usually it's more big picture things like, how does it work? And is this constitutional? Is this not constitutional? Those kind of things. It's not typically the area that you may be practicing in, but you want people to know that you are a lawyer, that you think like and respond like a lawyer, and help them get answers to their questions. And it's great practice for when clients will come to you, being able to answer those questions and being able to admit lack of appropriate knowledge in a professional way and say, hey, I don't know the answer to that because that's not the area I practice in, but let me do some research and I can at least get you a general answer or point you in the right direction, or get you connected with someone who does know the answer. And so that you're absolutely right. There's always, once people know you're a lawyer, they have a legal question they've always wanted to ask a lawyer, and you may be the only lawyer that they know, or the only lawyer they know that's not going to bill them for asking the question potentially. So that's always kind of a good thing. But you want people to know that you are a lawyer and that you're open to answering those questions. And I think we've talked before kind of how you manage that a little bit later in your practice when you're saying, I don't want to forget that we had this conversation, so maybe set an appointment with me. But when you're getting started out, boy, that reputational building is so important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then kind of the next step I would say is, after you've introduced yourself to friends and family as an attorney that has a law practice, has an office, we're hanging our own shingle. I think the next step to take is probably to contact some other attorneys that are in the area and let them know you started your own law practice, and if there's any overflow work that they have, feel free to send it my way, because I can help out. I've got time, and I might be able to learn something from that other attorney that I otherwise wouldn't have. So that may be a way to kind of network yourself. You may be doing some work in an area of practice that is not your meat and potato area of practice, but you're introducing yourself to that other attorney, and you're also, you could become a referral partner for that attorney down the line. So I think that might be a natural thing to do, as well as to contact other attorneys and let them know if you got some need, if you need me to fill in for some hearings, or if you need me to write a brief for you, draft some pleadings, send that work my way. I won't bill you for the entire hourly fee. I think that's a great way that you could do it. Take a reduced fee and then have that attorney continue to bill at his hourly rate or her hourly rate. And that way you can get some experience, get some money in the door, and network at the same time.
Yeah, and that win-win of building that reputation of getting out maybe to the local bar association events, or if there's some sort of community opportunity to gather on the courthouse square for the Lions Club or Rotary or any one of those things, get out and get yourself introduced to people. And I think it would be helpful, even though these are kind of the old school way of doing things, to still have that business card. Now you can make it a little more modern and put QR codes on it and all that fun stuff, but having a business card to someone that kind of physically shows them that you're in existence and you're there. That's one thing I know when we were coming out of law school, they suggested that we have business cards even before we had a job, just so that you had some way of communicating contact information to someone else. And I know there's ways you can do that on your phone and apps and different things now, but the physical business card is always a good thing. Of now the individual holding on to that has to do something with it. They may just throw it in the trash, or they may put it into their contact system later, but you're starting to circulate that out and about and get yourself introduced to. And you never know what that conversation may lead to. So the person you may be talking to might not have any overflow work for you, but they may talk to somebody the next day at court that says, boy, I'm slammed and I really could use some help. Well, yesterday I was talking to Thomas and I know he had some capacity, maybe reach out to him. So always good things to kind of start and just get your name out. And I think when we were talking to Michael Robinson a couple weeks ago, his statement was, the lawyers tend to be helpful to young lawyers or those who are kind of starting out. And that's been my experience here in Indiana as well, is lawyers always willing to help other lawyers get to where they're going. But they have to know you're a lawyer, they have to know you're out, and they have to know that you're going to come through if you volunteer to help in that way.
For sure. Let me ask you a question, Seth. What do you think about networking groups like BNI and Gold Star?
Great question. I think it's very important to get involved somewhere, and building that discipline and that routine. Those types of groups can be really helpful because there's that mutual accountability of there's a rhythm and a cadence to their meeting schedule. There's even an outline and an agenda of what they are going to do at that meeting, right? So each of them is built with an intentionality about networking and how they do that in BNI and the Gold Star example. There's others like that, I'm sure, but it's coming in and you're trying to share and bring referrals to other people. And so that can be very helpful from that rhythm and getting your mindset kind of focused on, okay, I'm really wanting to build this thing. Whether or not going to that event is actually going to result in you coming away with 2 or 3 cases every week, probably not. At least that was never my experience. But building the relationship with the individuals who are there, learning about how others present their business, and taking it as an opportunity to be seen as a lawyer who consistently shows up every time there's an opportunity to do so, I think goes a long way to building your practice.
Yeah, I think the networking groups like BNI and Gold Star are good to an extent. I think they would be good for an attorney that is just hanging his own shingle. I think that would be a good thing to do. My experience was fairly similar to yours, that I didn't get a ton of cases from it, but I did make some connections and was able to generate a couple clients that, even though I haven't been involved in one of those for probably 7 or 8 years now, every year or so I get a phone call due to the relationships that I built at that group. And so I wouldn't say that it was fruitless. I would have the caveat of have reasonable expectations going into it. Don't expect that you're going to, have a seven-figure law practice because you went to the BNI group. I don't think that would be a reasonable expectation.
Yeah. Yeah, such an important point, because as you are doing all of these activities, there is no overnight success principle. This is consistency over time will lead to results. And when you're first starting out and you need the phone to ring, that's not what you want to hear, because I need work, I need clients, I need cases, but it takes time to get your brand into the marketplace, right? And that's what you're doing, is you're putting yourself out there. You have limited available reputation when you first start, because not many people have experienced who you are as a lawyer. And so you're trying to build that reputation. So you do that in a lot of ways. You do it in delivering quality legal services, but you can also do that by consistently showing up and committing to something. And that will enhance that reputation. Has nothing to do with your legal skill necessarily, but it does have to do with your character and your integrity and who you are as a person. And so the more people like you and like interacting with you, the more likely they are to think of you as a potential resource when a legal need arises. But they have to be comfortable enough with you and who you are to refer someone to you to handle that legal matter. And that's a big deal. And so you'll see things that in your career don't really make sense. They don't have direct connection to your ability as a lawyer, but because you went to a certain college or you're part of a certain group, that gives you some credibility with them. And because they know you and they know how you are outside of the law, they can kind of connect the dots and say, likely you're going to be okay as a lawyer because of the other areas in which I know you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point as well. Here's another idea that I'll throw out there. What about lawyer referral services?
Great opportunity to get real cases in the door, because where these show their value is the bar association or whoever's running that lawyer referral service is trying to connect people who have real legal issues or questions with an attorney to get an answer. Again, whether that's going to be a paying engagement or whether somebody just needs an answer from a lawyer and getting the next step taken in their legal matter is the question. But I think those are really helpful if the economics of it work out. So you have to be aware, I think, of what the trade-offs are, read the agreements that are there, make sure you have all the compliance things in place that you may need to be part of that network. So you may need malpractice insurance, or you may need the different things from a security standpoint in terms of client communication. So you want to make sure you're able to meet those requirements, but it's a great way to get real world legal experience.
Yeah, and I can speak firsthand about my experience with the lawyer referral service with the Indianapolis Bar Association. I think it may have changed a little bit in the last 5 to 8 years, but when I first enrolled in that, the idea was you need to have a certain level of malpractice insurance to comply with the program, and then you also need to basically take 10% of whatever fee you have, and that's going to be the charge that the Indianapolis Bar Association has for sending you the referral. So if you don't make any money off of it, the Bar Association doesn't make any money off of it. But if you do, then you got to pay something towards them. Yeah, it was good for me because it actually got the phone ringing, and I think I selected nearly every single practice area that I possibly could to get referrals, and the phone did start to ring. I mean, I think I started to get 3 or 4 phone calls a day because I was in the referral service. And some of those cases I didn't take because they were crazy, like, somebody looked, in a mean way at my dog, that kind of stuff. And they wanted to sue the neighbor because they didn't like the dog, things like that. And you can't do a whole lot for that. But, I did get some cases that are really good, and clients that have stayed with me for a long time because they came through the lawyer referral service. So I think that is a good opportunity for folks, particularly if you're going to be in a metropolitan area with a good bar association. I think we've got a good bar association here in the Indianapolis area. So I think that would be a good opportunity for folks.
Yeah, and there's just something confidence boosting about having people call your office and having those discussions, whether they result in an engagement or not in terms of a case, that sometimes is not the most important part at the beginning, because you want to know, okay, people know I'm here. Because if you're sitting in your office waiting for something to happen and the phone isn't ringing, that can be very lonely and discouraging at times. And so you want that inertia to start. And so at least you're answering legal questions. And then you can say, well, maybe I need to fine tune what I'm willing to take calls about. And maybe I don't select every practice area under the sun, but I can start narrowing this down because it's generating too many calls that may not be related to what I want to do, or that aren't generating things that I can really help with. Now, you are helping as a lawyer because you're answering the legal question and you're telling someone, hey, maybe this isn't the case you think it is, or I'm glad you asked that because you need to know what your rights are in this situation, but it's probably not worth it going through it. And here's why, so you can make an informed decision about your legal rights. So all of that is great practice for you as the attorney as well. But you also have to balance that with, I need a paycheck so I can eat. There's a discretion that you learn very quickly, I think, through those services as well. Again, can really be good for just the confidence of, hey, people know I'm here and the phone's ringing and at least I'm getting that activity going.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. And I think maybe just participating in bar association activities. I remember when I was early on in my practice, I would volunteer for things like Ask a Lawyer. I think they had something on Martin Luther King Day where you go and you volunteer. It's not a paid thing, but it gets you connected with the community, and it also gets you connected with other attorneys. And I think just being active in the bar association is a great way to get your name out there. Another idea is, if the judges in your county don't know you, maybe you go and you introduce yourself, and so they know, maybe you want to do criminal defense or you want to be some kind of public defender. Just go and introduce yourself to the judges, and maybe there's an opportunity out there. You just kind of have to think about all possible opportunities that are out there. I remember I sent a mass email to all of the public defenders in the state of Indiana that were with the Indiana Public Defenders Commission. And I said, hey, I'd like to do some appeals for, criminal defense work or what have you. And I didn't get anything from that for months. But then, like 6 months later, I got a call from one of the public defenders, chief public defenders that I had emailed. And he said, well, I don't have an appellate position for you, but I do have this other contract if you're willing to come out here to this county. And so you just have to see what, just come up with some creative ideas and act on it. And, most of the time, any marketing activity that I've done has paid off in some way. It may not have been massive, but it kind of goes along with our saying that activity trumps everything. You just have to get yourself out there, get your name out there, and eventually people will take notice.
Yeah, and that's another thing I think that came to mind while you were talking about that is, how do I know what my network is? And I think that's an important thing, to have a list of some kind of, this is my network. So my family, my friends, and kind of who would you invite to a wedding or a funeral, or the people that are kind of close to you enough to know who you are. And then you can start reaching out to them and say, hey, I'm opening up my practice. If anybody needs anything, here's the areas I'm going to focus on, and let them know. They may not be the people that have the legal need. They may not even be in your same state in a lot of cases if you have extended family that live across the country or the world. But the fact that they know their friends in their community that may know somebody is always a good thing. And again, you're not soliciting, you're just kind of educating folks on who you are and that you're open if people have that need, making that aware. LinkedIn or some program like that, or social media, can be a good way to handle that announcement as well, and or connect with people that you may be interested in learning more about their practices. So if you're trying to develop an estate planning practice, reach out to someone and say, hey, can I get an informational meeting on the calendar? Grab some coffee or grab lunch or something along those lines, and just learn from you about how you got started and what worked for you, what didn't work for you. Do you have any suggestions for me? seek out those relationships from a mentoring perspective, as well as a potential referral partner for conflict work down the road. Or maybe they handle a certain area and they don't want to handle a different area of level of practice, and that could be a good resource as well. Or if they have a conflict, a scheduling conflict, right? You've covered a lot of hearings for people in different counties. I've done the same, where the lawyer may be a different law firm, but they don't have coverage at a particular venue that I'll be at. You can cover the hearing for them and help out in that way. So lots of opportunities there. Like you say, I think that the important thing is to be a little creative about it, but take that action, because the sooner you act, the sooner the opportunity is for there to be a return on that action. Otherwise, it just never will be there. Like you say, it could take 6 months, it could take 6 years. You don't know.
Yeah, and along with that, I think that there are a lot of these bigger conglomerates or what have you that um, they get hearings. A lot of them are collection hearings, and you can sign up to be an attorney that handles those hearings. And as long as you are a licensed attorney in the particular state that they need, you can handle the hearings, and you might get $100, you might get $200. If you get lucky, you'll have like 7 hearings and you'll get paid $300, $400. And if you don't have anything else to do, that'd be a good thing to do. So you can look for those platforms. And I know that there is some referral work through Law Clerk that you can use. You can sign up to be an attorney on that. Maybe an attorney needs you to draft a will. You could draft that for a lower rate, and that attorney is able to charge his regular rate. You can just be creative with those entities that are already seeking out attorneys that need work to do, and you can find a little bit of a stream of income to tide you over while you're trying to find your own clients that can come into your own office and meet with you.
Yeah. And I think we mentioned this in recent episode of just sometimes this will seem like a side hustle, but you put enough of those together and you get everything in your practice built up to where you say, boy, I don't have time to do what I used to do over here. So I'm going to focus on these areas over here. But you're building those multiple opportunities to bring in cash flow and to have some sort of rhythmic thing that you can count on, right? Like that's a big thing. And then you start building it from there. So take that action, get moving, get yourself out there. I think those are really important aspects of, hey, I'm going to try to reach out to 3 people every day and write them an email, or set a target and you focus on that and you do that consistently over time. I think it will pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the discussion today, Seth. I think we've thrown a lot of good ideas out there. Like I said, find what works for you with your personality and the opportunities in your area, the way that the bar is in your area and the court system, and then just make it work for you. And we're here to be a resource for folks. If you got questions, feel free to contact us. Believe our email. I think my email is thomas@lifetimelegacylawyers.com. And Seth, your email is?
My first name, Seth, at lifetimelegacylawyers.com. And that's our YouTube channel as well. And we are podcasted wherever you get your podcasts. So if there's anything we can do to help, we both are we enjoy the practice of law. We know what that can do for you as you're trying to accomplish that dream of opening your own shop, and love to be a resource to help you along the way. So Thomas, thanks so much for the time, and we'll see everybody again soon.
Thanks, everybody.